President, si Chidoro C. Robles, and our Dean of the College of Agriculture, Resources, and Environmental Sciences, si Dr. Jaime C. Cabarles Jr. Ako po ulit si Miss Dana Marie Gabasa na mag-share po ulit sa inyo ng isa sa mga phytobiotic medicine na ginagamit namin and in-apply din po namin sa mga manok namin dito. So, ngayon po, isi-share ko po sa inyo kung paano po gumawa ng egg boosting. So, yung egg boosting po is ginagamit lamang ito sa mga breeder ng manok ninyo or mga papaitlogin. And pwede rin po ito sa mga layer din po. So, sa ngayon, bali, share ko po sa inyo kung ano po yung mga ingredients and then yung mga inclusion levels na kailangan po natin para po makagawa ng egg boosting. So, if meron po kayo dyan na papel na pwede niyo po isulat or di kaya na sa mga hindi pa po makapanood or pwede rin po na i-replay yung video namin ngayon. So, bali yung una, isa sa mga ingredients na gagamitin natin sa egg boosting is ang turmeric or yun po yung tinatawag natin na kalawag o di kaya yung tawag na dilaw na luya. So, bakit turmeric? So, yung turmeric po kasi is meron po itong antioxidant. Tsaka meron din po itong antimicrobial properties na kung saan pwede din po nito ma-improve and also pwede din po nito ma-improve yung yellow pigment sa mga itlog natin. Yun po yung tawag natin na yolk. Yun po. So, yung pangalawa na ingredient po natin is yung ginger. So, bakit naman yung ginger? So, tumutulong po ito na mag-improve yung egg weight or yung timbang ng mga itlog natin. And at the same time, nagsisilbi din po ito na analgesic sa mga manok. Pag sinabi natin analgesic, yung kagaya po yung sa mga tao na paracetamol, parang ganun po yung epekto ng ginger sa mga manok natin. And then also, meron din po tayong kalamansi. So, yung kalamansi naman ito, kagaya po dun sa past video natin na ginawa natin, meron din po yung kalamansi. So, yung purpose nito is nagpo-provide po ito ng vitamin C para sa mga manok natin. Ika-apat po is meron din po itong moringa. So, yung moringa naman po, aside sa na-mention natin na sa last video, na pwede po ito makaprevent ng E. coli infection sa mga manok natin, nagko-contain din po ito ng fiber, kung saan yung fiber kasi beneficial to, especially sa mga gastrointestinal part ng ating mga manok o di kaya doon po sa bituka mismo ng mga manok natin. So, yun po, connect yung sa E. coli infection tsaka dun po sa purpose ng moringa natin. Also, yung last po na ingredient natin is yung garlic. So, yung sa garlic naman, ang garlic kasi multi-purpose to. So, meron po itong antibacterial, antiviral, also, pwede din po ito pantambal para sa mga yung mga internal parasite po sa mga manok natin. So, yun po yung 5 ingredients na kailangan po natin. Yung inclusion level naman po, yung i-share ko sa inyo. So, ano-ano nga ba yung mga inclusion level ng ating egg boosting? So, meron po itong in every mixture. Meron yung sa turmeric, meron po itong 20% na inclusion level. Yung ginger naman po is 20% din po yung inclusion level. Same din po sa moringa, meron din po itong 20% na inclusion level. Yung sa may garlic naman po, meron din pong 20% na inclusion level. And yung sa kalamansi natin is 20% yung inclusion level nito. So, para po mas madali po yung pagkuha ng numbers. For example po, gagawa po tayo ng 1 litrong egg boosting. So, ano nga ba yung measurement nito? inclusion level nito. So, yung kalalabasan, yung bawat ingredients po is merong 200 ml na inclusion level para po sa gagawin nating egg boosting na 1 liter. So, yun po yung inclusion level na para po sa egg boosting. So, sana po makatulong din po ito. And then, if sa mga nauli po sa nakapanood, pwede po kayo mag-replay ng video namin. So, yun po. So, yung sa harap po natin is yung ready na po na na mixture ng ating ingredients na moringa, turmeric, yung sa kalamansi, yung garlic, and then yung sa ginger po. So, yung gagawin natin is magmi-mix na lang po tayo. Pero take note lang po, again, sa mga nanonood sa ngayon, kung nagtatanong po kayo na napaka-high-tech po ng aming materials sa kayong gamit, hindi naman po kailangan na ganito din po yung area ninyo, yung gagamitin ninyo, yung available lang po na resources nandiyan po sa inyo is pwede na. Yung importante lang po kasi is malalaman po natin yung inclusion level at paano po gawin yung mga phytobiotic medicine na i-share namin sa inyo. So, sa ngayon, kukuha na lang po tayo ng bakanting container para mahalo po natin yung mga prepared ingredients po natin. So, nahalo na po natin yung ating ingredients para sa egg boosting natin. So, yung gagawin na lang po natin is i-mix ito gamit ng, for example, yung available lang po ninyo is yung available na kutsara o available na sandok o di kayo yung mga available na medyo malinis na pwede pong panghalo natin sa ating mixture solution. Make sure po na mahalo po ninyo ng mabuti ang solution ninyo para ma-blend dito ng mabuti. Kasi sa amin, minimake sure po namin na homogenize po yung mixing ng aming solution. So, yung ginagawa naman po namin is nilagay po namin sa homogenizer to para magbe-blend po ng mabuti yung kulay nito tsaka yung mga pagmimix nito. So, sa mga lugar ninyo na hindi naman po ito available, pwede naman kayo gumamit ng mga stirring materials po, like yung mention natin kanina, and then yung ginawa natin kanina, para po na mamimix po natin na mabuti yung ating solution. So, hindi naman po needed na ganun po ka-high-tech yung ating mga gamit. Ano lang po talaga, available resources lang po talaga. And remind ko lang po ulit na sa mga gagawa ng solution, make sure lang po na kapag gagawa po kayo is eksakto lang po ito sa gagamitin ninyo. Para po ito sa ma-prevent po natin yung pagsira ng ating solusyon, especially kapag matagal-tagal pa po itong gagamitin. So, if natandaan po ninyo na video sa mga long storage na na pag-store ng ating solution. So, aside dito, mag-a-add po ako ng citric acid and gum arabica powder para po makatulong sa ating long storage. So, remind ko lang po ulit sa mga nanonood na yung citric acid tsaka yung gum arabica powder is ano lang po siguro, hindi naman po talaga na na-recommend namin ito, especially po sa inyo, kasi kapag gagamitin nyo naman po agad na uubusin naman po yung yung solution na, for example, sa existing solution, okay naman po na wala naman pong citric acid or gum arabica powder. So, in our case, kasi we need to store it in a long period of time. So, kaya po yun po yung purpose na nilalagyan po namin ng ganitong powder or additional ingredients po namin. So, if meron pong interesado or gusto na maglagay or may purpose din po for long storage, pwede naman po kayo kumontak sa amin. Doon po sa numero na makikita po ninyo sa ating screen na kung regarding po dito sa ating ingredients. So, hahaluin ko lang po ito ulit para po ma-mix ng mabuti. So, ito po yung homogenizer natin. So, sa past videos po natin, nakita na po natin ito na ginagamit para po ma-pure blend or ma-homogenize po yung mixing ng ating solution. So, sa ngayon, ipapasok ko po yung ginawa nating mixture para makita po natin yung itsura ng homogenize na hinhomogenize na solution po natin. So, sa mga gusto naman na na ganito rin po yung itsura ng ninyo, ng gusto nyo maging mas maganda pa po yung mixture ng inyong solusyon, pwede po kayo mag-inquire dito lang po sa amin. So, this is our egg boosting solution. Ulitin ko lang po, yung egg boosting is makakatulong po ito sa pag-boost ng egg production ninyo, and at the same time, pag-boost din po ng immune system ng mga manok natin. So, however, kalakip po ng mga phytobiotic medicine na share namin sa inyo is yung kailangan din po natin ng proper at saka good cultural management sa ating So again, yung egg boosting po is para po ito at makakatulong po ito sa pag-boost ng egg production ng mga manok natin, especially sa mga breeders or layers din po. And also, nakakatulong din po ito sa pag-boost ng immune system ng mga manok natin. So, yung gagawin ko na lang po is ita-transfer na lang po yung solution natin sa malinis na container. So, meron po akong ditong glass container na makikita po inyo doon din po sa mga past videos namin na pwede din po ninyong lagyan ng solution namin. So, ngayon gagamit po ako ng funnel para po ma-transfer na mabuti yung ating solution. So, ulit po sa mga nanonood dyan, kapag meron po kayo available resources, hindi naman, yun lang po yung gagamitin ninyo. Hindi naman po kailangan na high-end po talaga yung mga gamit na gagamitin po natin sa paggawa ng mga phytobiotics or mga phytobiotic medicines natin. So, ito na po yung finished product ng ating egg boosting solution. Nailagay na po natin sa storage natin, sa storage glass natin. Yung gagawin na lang po natin is pwede na po ito ma-store sa refrigerator natin. So, sa mga gusto pong or nangailangan po ng ganitong instrumento na makita po na ginamit natin sa mga paggawa natin ng ating phytobiotic medicine, if needed ninyo, especially po sa mga students po na nagkakandak na research, pwede po kayo dito mag-inquire sa Central Philippine University, dito po sa my research and development area. And then, makikita po ninyo na na number po na pwede po kayo tumawag or mag-text. Dito lang po sa screen natin. So, yung sa egg boosting po, and also, sa iba pong yung phytobiotic medicines po, palagi po namin nire-remind na, and please keep in mind po, na kalakip po ng ating phytobiotic medicine is yung good and proper management din po sa mga manok. Medicines na i-share namin sa inyo is yung proper and good management din po and practices sa mga manok natin. Kasi kahit anong gamot din po na ibibigay po natin, if hindi naman po maganda yung ating management, wala din po itong effect, especially na din po na kapag marumi po yung ating mga manok natin. So, dito po nagtatapos yung phyto sharing segment po natin. So, ulit, for next week, iniimbitahan ko po kayo ulit na manood ng CPU Philippine Native Chicken Channel para po sa next segment naman po natin ng phyto sharing natin. So, ulit, dito po sa microbial isolation building, in behalf po ng University President namin na si Dr. Chudoro C. Robles and our Dean of the College of Agriculture Resources and Environmental Sciences na si Dr. Jaime C. Cabarles Jr. Ako po si Miss Dana Marie Gabasa na thank you po sa panonood and nagpapasalamat po ako sa inyo sa pagsubaybay po namin, pagsusubaybay po sa amin dito po sa aming channel. So, if ever po na makakatulong po kami or makakatulong din po kami sa mga kakilala ninyo, please like and follow and also share our page para po na ma-share din po sa iba yung mga information na i-share namin sa inyo. So keep your chicken healthy and at the same time, keep your environment healthy. So thank you everyone and keep safe.
magandang gabi mga ka-native. This is the Philippine Native Chicken Web channel po, broadcasting live dito po sa may second floor, room 201, no, R&D Building, Barangay Road, Central Philippine University dito po sa may Haro, Iloilo City. The Philippine Native Chicken Web TV po at saka page po is managed by the College of Agriculture Resources and Environmental Sciences. Dito mismo sa CPU, headed by our President Dr. Charles Robles. Kasama na po yung aming Chairman of Board Trustee, Atty. Bon Lobel Bidona. Kasama rin dito natin yung ating yung aming technical dito, si Ma'am Dana Marie Istoy Gabasa, no, you know, kita nyo kanina, siya mismo yung camera woman, siya na yung speaker, siya na rin yung chemist. No, ganyan kasing buhay namin dito at the Philippine Native Chicken. No, we are what I call a multitasker, no, dito po sa ginagawa namin, no, at Central Philippine University. At sa lahat-lahat pala na nag-reply po doon sa ating survey form, no, thank you for participating, the overwhelming response po ng ating mga ka-native, no, in that survey form. Medyo pasensya ng konti yung ibang topic nyo kasi, no, out of the place kasi, but don't worry, we'll be considering all the nilagay nyo doon ng mga impormasyon na gusto po ninyo malaman, no, in the next episode that we have. Na ang gawin po natin dito sa Philippine Native Chicken will be scheduling the live stream po na kung saan will be featuring information, an informative way of sharing the information po at least in this time, no. Sa nakapag-umpisa na at saka may balak na mag-umpisa, no, at least we can provide you all the necessary information, no, before you start or maybe correcting the activities that you have, no, sa respective areas po ninyo. Sa ating mga ka-native, if you think that this program po is informative, no, kindly share po yung page natin sa mga kakiala po ninyo na sa tingin po ninyo makatulong po kami dito sa Central Philippine University. No, paki-share po ng ating programa po para kahit paano po medyo marami yung matutulungan natin, no, in this tonight topic. Ngayong gabi kasi ang ating pag-usapan is about what we call the industry analysis. Minsan kasi ang nagiging problema natin is that nakapokus tayo, no, when we start our project, no, focus tayo lang doon in terms of how we grow and how we market, but hindi po natin nakikita po ang buong industriya po ng pagmamanukan. That is why that in-schedule talaga namin ito na kung saan po makatulong po sa inyo that the information that we'll be sharing tonight, no, hoping that it can be of great help, no, sa inyong lahat po, lalo na po yung may balak pa mag-umpisa at saka yung nakapag-umpisa na po, kindly restructure, no, yung ating mga project yan sa respective areas nyo para po makorek natin kung dapat natin gawin. Na yan kasi minsan because the number na makikita po natin minsan, no, medyo duling yung mata mo sa pagtingin ng number, yun pala may ibig sabihin pala yung number. And then the PowerPoint presentation that we have tonight, no, it will be the link of it will be shared after the program, no, sa ating counting survey form, feedback form, para at least kahit na paano po we can gradually improve our activity dito na kung saan po mas mapaganda pa natin at saka marami po sa ating mga ka-native po ang matulungan na kung saan po ang impormasyon na bigay po namin talagang angkop na angkop po sa inyo base po sa mga kinakailangan po ninyo. Because this live stream that we have is the output of the previous seminars that we conducted. Yung kung bakit na medyo madalang po kami, minsan na kami nag-conduct ng webinar, tapos hindi na because we are soliciting ideas also. And at the same time, kung maaalala po ninyo, yung mga previous survey po namin, na that is one way on how we can enhance the services that we can offer po sa inyo po, lalo na po sa ating mga native. So, pasensya ng konti, we'll be directing our discussion on the topic no, on the industry analysis, no, para po because of the time limited that we have na at least makikita po ninyo. And then mamaya po at the end of this live stream po, i-share namin yung link, no, with that survey form. Pwede po ninyo ma-download kasi because ang nagiging problema natin is that there are still lot of that would like to participate in this live stream program, kaya lang hindi na makapasok doon sa may survey form na ilagay namin. Don't worry, no, all that the material that we'll be using right now in the presentation, no, you can download it, no. Ang gawin nyo lang kasi ipinabalis namin in Google, ang gawin nyo lang later on is that na i-right click nyo and then print and then save as a PDF file para po naman na pwede nyo ma-print na doon sa inyo po. Now, all the material that you can see here, no, will be available, na available po sa inyo para po mag-download. No. So, ngayong gabi po, we will be discussing, no, the Philippine native chicken industry analysis. No. Ito kasi ang mga impormasyon na nakita namin, no, minsan I am looking at the data of the Philippine Statistics Authority. No, minsan I don't know how others, no, take it into consideration, no, lalo na pag-usapan po is yung manok po. That is why that I will be discussing tonight. Walang problema kahit na sabihin natin na medyo yung notes na makikita nyo, but you can review, no, yung discussion natin dito anytime that you want, no, para kung gusto po nyo na ulit-ulitin yan, hindi kasi namin dinelete yung mga previous video namin, para at least you have the reference, no, na pag may kalimutan ko ata, i-click mo lang doon yung video na yan para at least makita po ninyo. Now, we'll be sharing the data. No, next slide dan. This will be more of what you call the content. No, actually the content of this presentation. No, we divided that into three. No, we have what you call the production and consumption situational. Ano ba talaga ang sitwasyon ngayon sa pagmamanukan sa Pilipinas? No, mayroon pa ba tayong tsansa na in behalf na ngayon po yung prisuan po ng baboy sa Iloilo, no, dito po sa Western Visayas umakyat ang mahal na, no? But I know that because also of what they call the African swine fever, but even for the chicken, yun nga, kahit na yung broiler nagmahalan na, but we'll be tackling that right now. No, that is a 5-year situation, no, from 2016 to 2020. And then we'll also be discussing about tawag dito yung per capita consumption. Ano bang ibig sabihin ng per capita consumption? This is in reference to what they call the volume, no, of either meat or the dressed chicken or the egg, no, consumed by every Filipino po. This is equivalent to a per kilogram per person per year. At least alam po natin, no, ano ba talaga. But that consumption is also in the reference also in terms of what they call the income versus expenditure in the household. Para at least kasi ang isa kasi sa nakita namin is that na noon pa, now we could not really identify now what is the right market for our product. Yung kung bakit that we are dealing with this data para at least you have the guide. And then we'll be also discussing about the sub-industry, no, of the Philippine native chicken para po at least we have the guide. No. Now, on the next slide, this is more of what we call the population inventory. Now, population inventory of chicken in the Philippines. Now, I did not intend to include what they call the poultry because when we speak about poultry po, ang ibig sabihin yan, it would include ducks and even quail and turkey. But in this analysis po, this is specific only to chicken. So, yung data dito na makikita po nyo, this is the combination of data from 2016 to 2020. Na the broiler, layer, and then the native or what they call the improved one. Ang isa kasi sa nakita namin as I take a look on the data from the PSA, hindi po tayo makakita po na talagang data na that refers to what they call the purely Philippine native chicken. So, medyo mahirap i-account. Again, this data is an estimated data. Ibig sabihin po, mayroon pong margin of error on the collection because this data was collected based on the sample size only. But at least we have the guide, no, the guide, no, as in when it comes to this kind of the presentation. Now, if you are going to combine the population of the commercial breeds, no, when we say about commercial breeds, that is the broiler and layer, no, ang broiler kasi talagang intended siya for meat production. Yung kung bakit na minsan, if you really want to grow chicken faster, grow broiler, no, so that within 25 days or 30 days, no, you can sell it. And if you want to produce egg, no, the intention is really for egg, you raise the you grow layers. But for the native and the improved, no, ito kasi ang medyo may discrepancy ng konti because on the native and improved, this population po, included na dito po yung mga crossbreed natin and even the foreign native chicken and the colored broilers, no, present in the country. Na ibig sabihin po yung mga foreign native chicken natin naka-include na dito po sa native and improved. And even the population of the game fowl is also included in this data. Ibig sabihin po, there is no available data talaga na specific for our Philippine native chicken. But we'll make use of this data and how we can dissect it later on, no, sundan po natin. Now, the population, kung tingnan po natin, is that na ang pinakamataas na population dito is way back in 2019. No, 2019. Na this is January 1, January 1 data. No? Yung 2019 natin po, umakyat yung population ng ating native chicken more than to 80 million. Na ganyan po kadami yung manok po sa Pilipinas na native, but that is included what I've mentioned about the foreign and then the even the game fowl or the fancy breed of chicken. So ganyan po, kung tinan po natin ang trending paakyat pababa, it is because na ang sitwasyon kasi sa pag-aalaga ng manok, no, lalo na po sa ating nakapag-umpisa na napakapag-umpisa na po. Now, there is always what they call the risk associated on the process. No? The risk associated in the process. Minsan kasi may mga taon kasi, for example, if you could still remember about the bird flu, na kung saan po it greatly affects the population of the chicken in the Philippines. Not only what they call the broiler and layer, but even the native or the improved one. No? So this is what they call the trending of population of chicken. At least makikita po natin, ganun pala yung data na yan. No, kung tingnan po 2016, no, yung broiler population po by 2017 baba hanggang 2018. Akyat naman siya by 2019 and then baba naman siya by 2020. So along that way po, ganyan po ang nakikita po natin. That the scenario, no, on the declining po, if you could still remember, no, yung mga cases po ng bird flu in some other part area of the country na suspect pa lang yan, no, actually it greatly affect. But take a look on the population of our native. There might be also changes, but the changes kung tingnan po natin, no, on the average po for the 5-year data po, no, the total population of the native including the improved one is about mga 80 million on the average. No, ganyan po karami yung manok dito sa Pilipinas. But kung maalala pa ninyo yung sabi ko noon na yung data noon, that in the country, no, ang requirement po natin sa native chicken for 1 year, that is about 280 million heads. Ganyan po kadami. With a population of the native that include the even the game fowl and the foreign native chicken, would you think kayang-kaya kaya supplyan ng number na yan ang requirement po natin? Given that the concept of raising, no, among the farmers of the raisers, it is more of what they call the backyard scale of production. As I've mentioned in the previous streaming that we have, that the survival rate of native chicken under the parents condition po sobrang baba niyan. Based on the data that we collected here in Western Visayas, na kung makikita po, the survival rate is only 40%. Anong ibig sabihin yan? Out of 106 that you have, na halos 40 lang po ang aabot niyan sa marketing age, o about 3 months or 4 months, and weighing about 850 to 1 kilogram po. Ganon po ang sitwasyon. So would you think that 80 million heads, no, included na yung ibang grupo po ng manok na hindi na-classify doon on the broiler and layer, ipinasok na dyan, would you think kayang-kaya kaya supplyan ng 283 million if we'll be only devoting on the backyard scale of production? Next slide. So this is what they call the distribution of chicken. No, kung makikita po nyo sa mapa, no, kaya nga if you have the time, na try to take a look on the data of the Philippine Statistics Authority po. That is of great help po sa atin, no, lalo na po sa mga nag-aalaga po ng manok. Anong ibig sabihin? In that area po na dark yung shade na blue na yan, ibig sabihin po, ang population po ng manok dyan is sobrang dami. But it is more concentrated in terms of the layers and broilers. Anong ibig sabihin? The population of native chicken in that area po masyadong mababa po. Bakit? It is because that when the commercial raisers, no, when the commercial raisers po, halos paglagay po, every production period po, gumagamit po sila ng bakuna for their CCU. What do you think will happen doon sa mga manok sa paligid nila? I know that in the areas of Calabarzon, no, and even in the Bukidnon areas, na kung saan po marami ang manok dyan, na kung makikita nyo, every time na mag-load po ng CCO, na yung grower po, ano nangyari sa manok nyo sa paligid? Diba? They tended to experience what they call the signs and symptoms of infections. Parang ganon. And then gradually, it will wipe out the native chicken in that area. Kaya nga palagi sinasabi namin dito with the bulk of messages. No, every day po, kaya nga we took time, no, to really answer your all questions, if possible every day po. Makikita nyo ang pinaka-common na problema po ng mga raisers ng native chicken, especially situated in that darkened area po, is the occurrences po ng infection, lalo na po yung aratay o peste o di kitag natin ito is Newcastle disease. Kaya palagi sabi ko is that na if you really are investing money on native chicken to raise it, no, to raise it in this area, dapat po na yung manok po natin, pwede bang bakunahan natin? And if possible po, if you can source out, I know that in that area, in Luzon, the darkened area na yan, you can access to a lifetime vaccine po. Para at least yung manok po nyo sigurado na hindi po ma-wipe out yan. Otherwise, if you will not vaccinate your chicken, malakay po sa langanin yung investment natin. Ganyan po. So that is why that the data that we have here, no, kung makikita po natin, ganito po ang distribution ng mga population ng manok all throughout the Philippines po. Yung darkened area na yan, the population sa area na yan is about 60,000 to 200,000 po. Ganyan po kadami on the average. Now, next slide. Now, in terms of the number of heads, now, again, the data that I've extracted, no, in the Philippine Statistics Authority po, again, this is only limited to the broilers. Na, bakit po? Ang broilers kasi po, mabilis na kunan ng data. Ganyan po kadami ang population ng manok ng broiler na kinakatay sa Pilipinas from 2016 to 2020 po. And speaking in terms of number of heads, no, yung pinakamababa lang I think that was in 2016 with the population is more than 1 billion ang nakatay. But in 2019 po, the number of heads na nakatay in broiler is about 1.2 billion heads. 1.2 billion heads. Kung makikita po sa news, sa mga news, there are lot of their number of consumers that would like sana na if possible po they can access to the Philippine native chicken. Yung kung bakit that in the region 4A, Los 4B po, lalo na po dito sa NCR area po, no, yung presyuan ng manok dyan, halos sobrang mahal. Sobrang mahal. Umaabot hanggang 500 pesos. Yung binibenta dito namin sa Iloilo, na nakadress na, that is about 275, ba nakapasok dyan sa Manila, o sa NCR area po, umaabot hanggang 500 pesos per head. Live po yon. Live po yon. Bakit? Later on, makikita po natin. So, This data po, at least this is what they call the clear manifestation of how Filipino na gaano ba karami, kung gaano po suko sila kumain ng manok, no? In terms of the broiler, because yan na kasi ang available in the market. Next slide, please. Now, in terms of the contribution to the industry, no, the gross value added na from the poultry industry per se, na medyo malaki-laki na yung contribution po ng ating poultry industry, and this is speaking about billions of pesos, na ganyan po kadami. And that contribution is only among the layer broiler, the broiler, the layer, even few of ducks and turkeys, but ang majority po dyan is the broiler and layers. Sa tingin nyo kaya, if the native chicken, the Philippine native chicken, now from every household in the rural areas po, if you are going to account the contribution, na in terms of the household expenditure po, ganyan, sa tingin nyo, ganyan lang kaya ang contribution in terms of the gross value added ng poultry industry? Hindi. Masaakyat yan. Masaakyat yan. Based on the data that we have collected dito po sa Western Visayas, yung kung bakit that the Philippine native chicken po dito sa Central Philippine University, we keep on pushing, no, in terms of the commercial scale of production of native chicken. Bakit po? On the average po, in the household expenditure in the rural areas po, the native chicken is contributing almost 15% of the household expenditure. Anong ibig sabihin yan? For some other raisers po, ang native chicken production is really not only an alternative source of income, but it is their main source of income. Parang ganun yan. Bakit na dito sa Western Visayas? Later on, I will show the figure saan bang banda ng lugar dito sa Pilipinas ang sa tingin nyo maganda kaya paglagyan ng project natin. Actually, we are pushing what they call the native chicken to raise it, no, to raise it in terms of the commercial scale. Bakit po? The broiler and the layer, we are importing our parental stocks. Pag magka-birds flu, the importation po is affected. What if we're going to utilize our own Philippine native chicken? In this part, I know that we could not supply directly the whole requirement of the country, but what if 20 to 30% of this now will be contributed by the native chicken? Would you think that gross value added from the poultry industry would not increase? Aakyat yan, aakyat yan. Kaya lang, na dapat po natin na maintindihan muna talaga ang consumption ng mga tao dito sa Pilipinas bago po tayo na really to get into the commercial scale of production. Next slide, please. Now, in terms, kanina ang sabi natin is in terms of dressed chicken pa lang yan. How about in terms of the annual egg production in metric tons? Looking at the data from 2016 to 2020 po, tingnan nyo ang trending. Maybe in terms of the dressed chicken po, pakyat pababa, but the trending in terms of the annual requirement or the production for egg is keep on increasing. Anong ibig sabihin? The requirement of market is keep on increasing and increasing. Keep on increasing and increasing. That is why that the production also keep on increasing para po naman na maabot yung requirement ng market. Try to imagine, from 461 1,719 metric tons in 2016, it increases to 605,785.16 metric tons in 2020. Alam nyo kasi ang consumption kasi that is directly positively correlated with the increases in population. Yung nga sabi ko palagi that mahirap kasi sabihin mo sa tao, pili bang huwag ka munang kumain na bigas na yung pagkain natin, alanganin. Hindi pwede yan. Hindi pwede yan. Maybe it's possible you can have at least twice a day, na makakain, but for some even 5 times a day. Ganyan po ang requirement. That is why that there's the projections in terms of the consumption na umakyat yan. And if possible, not only possible, but that is a realistic one, that if the income of the consumers keep also on increasing, the requirement for food also, the food expenditure also is increasing. Now, next slide, please. Now, this is what we call the distribution of the layers in terms of the production. I know that the darkened side, again, kung makikita po nyo in the southern Luzon area, dito po sa may southern Luzon, itong area po ng Bulacan, papuntang basta Bulacan area in Region 4A, halos po yung population doon ng ating mga nating layer po sobrang dami. Sobrang dami. And that is why that they are what they call the consider as what they call the top 10 producers. The top 10 producers of the country. Mamaya po pakita po natin. So ibig sabihin po the distribution. Ibig sabihin that area po, if you want to invest on the egg production, kasi ang data na to, hindi lang to applicable among native chicken, but even for the chicken layer. Yung kung bakit that ang data na to po, kung tingnan nyo po, ang mga area na po na ang shaded po ay halos doon sa 60 to 1,000 metric tons ang production, at saka doon kayo mag-invest ng layer po ninyo. This is what they call the greater potential for the market to fill in the requirement of that area. Alam nyo kasi yung mga itlog doon sa mga area na dark na yan, halos ini-export pa yan papuntang ibang region. Yung sa mga light shaded area po, dinadala pa dyan ang mga itlog. So what if you would really invest on producing egg, at least ang data na to po, makikita po ninyo. Sabihin mo, sige, pwede tayo sa mag-invest dito sa may bandang Palawan area because ang production dito is kaunti lang. We are producing sa Palawan that is about mga 2,000 to 5,000 metric tons per year lang. So, ibig sabihin, if the requirement po matataas, ibig sabihin po, doon po tayo maglagay ng project natin on the chicken layer production. Next slide, please. Now, ang isa po kasi sa nakita natin is that in terms of the population ng ating manok po, layer, broiler, native chicken, papunta po naman doon sa may consumption natin in terms of production, production, gano'n pa kadami yung production, at saka papunta po tayo sa egg. Now, ang tanong palagi kasi is that if I am going to raise this group of native of chicken, saan po banda po ba ang saan po banda kaya ang maganda, sino kaya ang magiging magandang market natin? Ang nagiging problema kasi natin is that we keep on raising native chicken na hindi natin alam kung sino ba talaga ang the right market or the niche market that we have. Tingnan nyo ang data. This is in terms of the economic level of living po. From the extremely lower class to the upper class. Tingnan po ninyo in terms of the per capita consumption. Ang may pinakamaraming kumain po ng dressed chicken as the data from 1999 to 2012 po. Actually, if we're going to compare this data with other per capita consumption of other Southeast Asian countries po, ang sa atin po, mababa pa yan. In some other Southeast Asian countries po, mas mataas dyan. But, looking on the domestic po, tingnan po niyo, the middle class and the upper class are consuming more than 10 kilograms of dressed chicken every year from 1999 to 2012. Ganyan po kadami. But if you're going to take a look on the data of the upper class, from 1999 papuntang 2012, bumababa po ang consumption nila, ang per capita consumption. Anong ibig sabihin po? Because of the awareness of people. Naalala ko kasi when we started the project in 2012, and even before that, when I was still in UPLB for my doctorate. Ang tao kasi, pag maraming pera yan, hanap ng pagkain yan, na safety sila. And the awareness of the people, of the consumer in consuming meat loaded with antibiotics and growth promotant po, umakyat yan. Yung kung bakit kung tingnan nyo, bumababa yung per capita consumption nila from 1999 to 2012. This is only based on available data of the Philippine Statistics Authority. Ano kaya sa tingin nyo ang kanilang hinahanap? Ganyan nga sa mga area na kung saan po, a well-developed area po, halos kahit na sabihin natin ang isang potahe po umaabot hanggang 500 pesos na native chicken, baliwala po sa mga tao na may pera. As long as that native chicken is really free from synthetic chemical and growth promotant. Ganon po. Even in terms of the middle class, tingnan po nyo yung middle class. Halos umakyat din from 1999 to 2008-2009, umakyat sa ng konti, but on 2012, bumaba pa naman. Anong ibig sabihin yan? It is because of the awareness. Because of the awareness. Even on the lower class, tingnan po nyo sa lower class. Ang sa lower class natin, umakyat hanggang dito po sa ating sa extremely lower class. Anong ibig sabihin po on the lower index, the lower class? Alam nyo kasi, mura kasi ang manok na broiler. Kahit sabihin natin, pagpalagay natin yung 1 kilo po is 160, mura pa rin yan. Compare with the dressed native chicken, na kung ibase namin dito sa Rilo, on the wet market po, humaabot hanggang 300 to 320 pesos per piece po yan. Hindi per kilo yan. Kung sa bigat naman ang tingnan ninyo, ang bigat niyan, umaabot lang hanggang maximum of 700 grams. Yung presyo hanggang 320. Sino ang kaya niyan? That is why that the lower class na is opting doon sa mas mura. Kaya nga, if you are looking for the right market po of your native chicken, ito kasi palagi ang nangyayari. Kindly identify that middle class and upper class. Next slide, please. Now, even in terms of the egg production, no, sa itlog po, ito pa kasi ang isa sa pinaka-critical kahit dito sa amin. Tingnan nyo, it keep also on increasing. That is why the data that we have on 2016 to 2020 po, palaging umakyat. Ang tanong niyan, could the access to the egg of the Philippine native chicken? Ang problema palagi po, ang supply ng itlog po ng native chicken in the market. Yan kasi ang pinakamadalang na makikita po natin sa market. Yung kung bakit that because of there are no options. Yung tao, doon na lang mismo sa white egg. Kung makita nyo ngayon po, ang tao po, decreasiness or the cravings of looking on the egg. Kasi ang native kasi sabihin nila, basta native associated sa brown egg yan. Ay, nako, ang itlog po ng manok na native of various classes yan, except if it is being standardized for that color. Bating na ninyo, ano ang patok ngayon? Sabihin naka pre-range chicken to, range chicken to, brown egg to. Tingnan nyo po on how the market accept it. Because they have the options na detended na pumunta doon sa brown egg because ang perception nila is that the brown egg is being raised on the range. Ano ang nasa range? Damo, mga bulate, parang ganon yan. And they are thinking that this kind of chicken is free from any form of synthetic chemical po. Parang ganon yan. Next slide, please. Now, if we are going to base the data that I presented in the previous table, is more of what they call the based on the economic level of living. Ang i-data naman dito on the 3 and 4 is based on the place of residence. Based on the place of residence. Kung tingnan po natin in terms of the requirement po, no? Requirement po, from 1999 to 2015 to 2016 po, tingnan ninyo, it keep on increasing. It keep on increasing. On the average, from the per capita consumption, on the average po, is 7.436 kilogram in 1999. It increases to 9.315 kilograms po. Tingnan niyo, it keep on increasing. But again, finding your right market po. Finding your right market. Saan nyo makikita ang upper and the middle class? Saan ang majority sa kanila nakatira? It is in the urban barangays. Pag sinabi natin urban barangays, it does not refer na nandito po sa may lahat sa syudad, but even in the periphery of the town proper po. Halos yung mga barangay na katabi po ng bayan na kung saan po doon sa nakatira sa mga subdivision, ganon yan. Ibig sabihin that if you are looking on the market mo, try to target these individuals in the urban barangays because the middle and the upper class po na nandoon yan sa mga urban barangays. Nandoon yan sa urban barangays. And take a look on the rural areas, halos yung requirement nila in terms of dressed chicken, in terms of kilograms po, maliit po in terms of the broilers. But you think if you are going to have, if we have the data in terms of native chicken, sa tingin nyo ganyan kaya ang data niya? Hindi. Bakit? Because in the rural barangays, pag medyo mahirap maghanap-hanap po ng ulam, ang ulam palagi is manok. Pag medyo nakakita po ng income, bibili po ng sardinas yan para at least iba naman. Ganyan po kahirap sa rural areas. And this data is only reflecting on the broiler per se. Sa tingin nyo kaya in the urban barangays, if I'm going to take a look on the experience that we have then during the COVID, kaya nga sabi ko nung pagka-COVID na pili bang sa ating mga racers o mga kanitib, pili bang mag-realign na kayo dyan? Bakit? Ang pinakamaraming bumili po ng manok po, either processed or dressed chicken po, is situated in that urban barangays and in that subdivisions po. And they are classified under na the middle and the upper class po. Next slide please. Even po sa itlog. No, I did not include the data on 2015 and 2016 kasi parang sobra ata. No, there are some discrepancy on the data of the Philippine Statistics Agency. Maybe that is on the encoding that they have. But if you're going to take a look from 2000, from 1999 to 2000 po, again, tingnan po ninyo, saan po ang may pinakamaraming konsumo po sa itlog. Again, in that is in the urban barangays. Ibig sabihin po that if we're going to target our market, if we're going to raise native chicken in commercial scale, na huwag nyo ibinta po sa rural areas. Bakit? Maraming native dyan. Try to find outlet or maybe you can group yourselves and then try to identify these urban barangays. Where are these middle and the upper class is situated? Why? Because they are paying it at a premium price. Ang tanong palagi, how premium is the premium? Now, how premium is the premium? Kaya nga palagi sinasabi ko dito that all throughout the Philippines, I think, maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, tanungin nyo nga kung magkano yung production cost ng isang per-inch chicken na native. Alam nyo, when we started the project in Leon, no, halos naka-parents yan. And if you're going to ask me, magkano bang production cost ng isang manok na abot on that marketing weight of about 850 to 900 grams, umaabot yan hanggang 250 per head. Kung binili sa'yo yan ng 180, ang saya-saya mo na, at the end, pag kinumpute mo yung bottom line mo, lugi ka. And that is the reason why seldom you can find raisers raising native chicken in commercial scale. Bakit? Sa una po, hindi po niyo yan makikita, but as your operation lengthen, doon mo na ma-realize na ganun pala lugi yung operation po ninyo. Parang ganon. That is why that no, at CPO po, no, we are finding means on how to do it. No, we are finding means on how to do it. Now, on the next slide. Now, kasi tingnan natin in terms of the distribution, in terms of the region all throughout the country. Na, at least nakita nyo na kung saan, kung sino ang mas malakas kumain ng manok at itlog. At saka in terms of the per capita consumption po, alam nyo na kung saan ang banda location nila. Natandaan natin, ang pinakamalakas kumain ng manok, dressed chicken po, is from the middle class to the upper class, and they are situated in the urban barangays. Ang tanong ngayon, how about for the income? How about for the income? Kasi ang iniisip natin is that na palagi bang, if you're going to ask me, why I keep on promoting commercial scale of production of native chicken? May potential ba dyan? O baka lugi lang pupuntahan natin? That is why that we keep on promoting and we keep on studying this one para po at least makatulong sa ating mga kabayan o mga native na would like to do what they call lalo na po sa ating mga OFW that would like to do what they call the poor good. Na gusto lang umuwi sa Pilipinas para po na mag-poor good kasama yung mga pamilya nila. But finding the right enterprise po, yan ang pinakamahirap. Government is spending money, credit facility to OFWs and even displaced worker para po maghanap po ng alternative source of income. But ano nangyayari? It is because that we are not guided no kung saan banda po tayo papunta. Now, in terms of the household, kasi ang income kasi, that is one of the predictor na sabihin natin, ganun pala, yung kung bakit pala na marami silang bumili na manok, ganito, ganyan yan, ganun pala yan. No? Now, if you're going to take a look on the data, from 2015 to 2018 po, tingnan ninyo, saan yung may pinakamalaking income? That is in the National Capital Region po. Yung kung bakit na kahit na tag 500 pesos ang buhay na manok doon, basta native kayang bilhin. Because their income, if you're going to compare the income from 2015 to 2018 po, umakyat. On the average po, that is more than 450,000 income per household. Alam nyo kung ilang household all throughout the Philippines, that is more than 20,000. Estimated number is 24,000 household po. All throughout the Philippines. And that NCR, National Capital Region po, kung doon po kayo ngayon, nakasitwate ngayon po, ang income niyan is ganon. Sa tingin nyo kaya ang mga tao na malaki ang income, is not caring about their health? Diba, kung marami yung pera ng tao, talagang hahanap at hahanap yan ng mga mapagkain na safe. Para po mapahaba-haba pa yung buhay nila. This was followed by the Region 4A. Next is what they call the Region 3. Region 4A. Next is what they call the Cordillera Autonomous Region. And the rest. Halos yung may pinakababang income lang dito is the ARMM. Anong ibig sabihin po ng trending ng income? If we're going to take a look on the trend of income, tingnan po ninyo, from 2015, using the actual data, Paakyat ng paakyat yan. Paakyat ng paakyat. I know that in behalf of this COVID-19 that we have experiencing right now, na once na maka-fully recover yung ating ekonomiya, po akyat at akyat yan. Anong ibig sabihin? As the money, as individual increases and the income, ang requirement sa pagkain tumataas din. Yung kung bakit na marami sa mga manok from the other regions, from 6 and even in the top producing areas later on that I will be showing, is exporting their chicken or their native chicken in national capital region. But still, the requirement in national capital region, hindi po masuplayan. Ganun po yan. Ang binta kasi pag ang area po ninyo is malapit in that market, ibig sabihin po, the shrinkage. Now, the shrinkage. Ibig sabihin ng shrinkage po kasi pag dinala mo yung manok, buhay papunta dyan, na sa area na yan na malaki ang consumption, eh, pag namatayan, along the travel, anong gawin po natin? That is why that kung pwede pa lang ikatay mo muna bago dalhin doon, mas maganda para at least safer ka. And if you will be producing native chicken in that nearby areas, in that market, ibig sabihin po, the transport cost po ninyo, mas mapababa po ninyo po. Next slide, please. Now, this is in terms of the income and expenditure. Now, this is based on the inflation rate on 2012 and inflation rate based on the 2018. Yung data na makita po nyo at 2012 price po, that is what I call the on 2015 po. The projected that the household income average po last 2015 po is 267,000 average income per household in the country. Yan ang nakita nyo at 2018 po. Umakyat 313, ganyan po kataas. But take a look on the expenditure. How many percent of the income is being devoted for that expenditure? Now, down to next slide, please. Now, if we're going to slice the pie, slice the pie, para at least nakita po natin. Balik muna doon sa previous slide para at least we have the ideas. Now, tingnan nyo ha. How many percent is 239 of 313,000? Parang ganon yan. Now, papunta sa next slide dan. Now, the bottom 30%, ibig sabihin po, ito po ang nakakategorize doon in terms of the income less than 200,000. Income less than 200,000 and the upper 70%. Tingnan po nyo, ilang porsyento po ng kanilang income po is devoted for food expenditure. Ganyan po kalakas kumain tayo. For the bottom 30%, the food expenditure is about 58%. But for the upper 70% po, their food expenditure is almost 40%. What does this data imply? Alam nyo, kahit na 39.5% yan, pero ang income, more than 200,000, i-equate nyo kung magkano ang expenditure. Kahit na 58.2% yan, kung ang income less than 200%, magkano yan? Now, those are what they call the necessary data that we have to support those that belonging to the middle and the upper class and to those residing on the rural and the urban barangays. Parang ganon yan. But the next question is that how many percent of this food expenditure is devoted to buy meat products and egg product. Next slide dan. Parang kanito yan. Tingnan ninyo. On the average po, in the whole country po, ang ating expenditure in terms of the food expenses po. Food expenses po. Out of that 313 that we have the income and then the 200,000 plus expenditure natin, Tingnan po ninyo kung magkano po ang inilaan para sa pagkain. On the average po, that is 42.6% of the total expenditure is devoted po sa pagkain. Ganyan po tayo makain. Ganyan karami kumain po tayo. That most of our income po, halos doon po yan sa pagkain. No, doon sa pagkain yan. And then, how many percent is allotted for meat? Ang meat po dito include our dressed chicken, na yung beef and pork, na another form of the meat. Another form of the meat. Parang ganito yan. That is about 5.7% and 3% for egg. Ganyan po. Tingnan po ninyo. In terms of the food expenditure per region, tingnan nyo kung gaano po kadami, kung saang region po ang may pinakamaraming allotment po para sa pagkain. That is region, the 47%, no? That is region 4B. No? Parang ganon yan. Ang allotted for pagkain po. Tingnan nyo kung sino malakas kumain ng karne po. That is region 2. No? About 8%. Anong ibig sabihin po dyan? If you are situated in this region, and given the data that we have in terms of the per capita consumption of people of the market in terms of the meat and the egg, no, the rest chicken and the egg, pilit niya na ma-equate dito po sa allotment. Ibig sabihin po that the market that we have for the Philippine native chicken po, hindi po yan mamawala po for every household na in these different regions. In these different regions. Kung ang lugar po nyo, they have what they call the greater allotment for meat, ibig sabihin po, mismo sa lugar nyo, dyan ang market sa Philippine native chicken. Huwag na kayo maghanap kung saan-saan pa. Nandyan mismo sa lugar nyo. Take a look on that data. That is why that we distributed that data para at least makikita po nyo if you're situated in those regions na mataas ang allotment for meat, you can invest on native chicken using what they call the commercial scale of production. There is a potential for it in your place. Kung ang area pa naman ninyo, medyo kaunti yung allotment, no, lalo na po dito sa may ERMM, no, it is because Muslim areas po, ang karne po kaunti, ibig sabihin po, walang baboy dyan, ibig sabihin po, the market for your chicken is there. In the Muslim areas po, sa mga kapatid nating Muslim po, the requirement for chicken po sobrang taas yan. Parang ganon yan. So meaning that if we are going to invest on native chicken, nandoon yung potential market that we have. Kaya lang problema natin is that there is what they call the mismatch of product with the requirement of the market and then the need of the raiser. Next slide, please. Now, take a look on this data. This is in reference to the distribution of the population of the per region po, no, in terms of the native and the improved chicken population distribution. Tingnan nyo, NCR, walang native dyan na manok or improved chicken po based on the data of the Philippine Statistics Authority po. That is why that the NCR area po, sobrang dami tao dyan. To the point that the requirement for native chicken po, sobrang taas din. Because that is a highly urbanized city po. Tingnan po nyo, in the areas na kung saan po, yung kung isa sa mga reason that the bulk of researches on native chicken po, no, halos na sentro po dito sa Eastern Visayas because Region 6 has the highest population of native chicken all throughout the country po. All throughout the country. Yung kung bakit that dito nakabase yung Philippine native chicken, because of this scenario. And Western Visayas is exporting their chicken in some other areas of Luzon and even in Mindanao. Kahit na kulang pa rin dito sa amin, isipin nyo Iloilo alone. With a 60 stick of Ilo, alam nyo kung magkano ang kulang pa? Based on the data that I have in 2002, the market is still requiring about 600 heads. 600 heads. Ganun pa rin kadami. Per day yan. Ibig sabihin, in a month, at least 18,000. But take a look on this data, because the topography of the place can also affect the population. Yung kung bakit na kinsan, kung tingnan po natin, there are some areas na halos yung population ng native chicken is hindi ganun kadami. Bakit? Una-una bes. Tingnan po yung data in Region 4. Kaunti yung manok. Bakit po? It is because na ang area na yan, that is an area whereby saturated with the commercial lines. Every time na mabakuna dyan ang mga raisers ng commercial lines, ang mga manok na native po is affected. That is why that kung ang location po ninyo is nandyan, pwede bang magbakuna po kayo? If you cannot access in terms of the lifetime vaccine po, pwede bang gumamit kayo ng Insili Lasuta? Parang ganun yan. Otherwise kasi in that area, pag hindi nyo binagyan ng bakuna ang manok nyo, every time na mabakuna sa paligid nyo, kawabawa po ang investment po ninyo. Parang ganun yan. Now, kung makikita po nyo in terms of the meat allotment and then the population of native chicken, you can compare this data. You can compare this data. Ibig sabihin po, pag allotment po sa karne sobrang taas in that area, but ang population po ng native chicken is kaunti po, ibig sabihin po, the opportunity is there. Nandoon po yan. Kaya lang, ang consumers don't have the access for the native chicken. That is why that they opted kung ano ang available sa lugar. But if ever there is what they call an available native chicken, even they will be paying that in a very expensive manner, they will be buying for it. They will be buying for it. Yung kung bakit na sana po the data that we have sa presentation natin gabi po, maka-enlighten po sa atin, sa ating mga native, situated in these different regions. Yung kung bakit that is data, we will be posting the PowerPoint presentation po, naka-PDF yan right after ng program natin in the feedback form. Sana po matulungan nyo po kami that in that feedback form, sana masagot nyo mga konting katanungan namin doon para po na yan, that is for how to further improve the delivery of the live stream that we have. Para po na maging mas informative at saka maka-guide po sa inyo, lalo na po sa ating mga native dyan, situated all throughout the country po. All throughout the country. Now, next data please. Ganito kasi ang kwentuhan dyan. Kwentuhan, direkta, kwentahan. Baka sabihin nyo that the Philippine native chicken, dito po sa Central Philippine University, it is more of what they call the gut feel lang. Actually, the technology that we developed dito sa CPU po, again, we have the basis for it. We have the basis for it. Mahirap kasi gumawa ng technology na hindi dugtong-dugtong. That is why that we are presenting this concept on how the CPU Philippine native chicken is doing our best to help what they call the Philippine native chicken industry po. Alala ko kasi that, noon kasi sabi sa akin, alam mo James, walang pera sa native chicken. But di ko naniwala dyan. Di ako naniwala dyan. That is why that when I go back, dito po sa CPU po in 2012, tuloy-tuloy yung advokasya namin on the commercial scale of production. On the commercial scale of production. Bakit? There is a potential for it. There is a potential, market potential for it. Ang problema lang natin is that the technology behind it. I know that there are some of the viewers right now na nakasama natin sa live to, and even for the offline viewers that we have. I know that mayroon na sa inyo na nakaranas nito. Na kung saan po, you raise greater number of chicken following the backyard scale of technology, maawa po kayo sa mga pera po ninyo. Maawa po kayo sa mga pera po ninyo. raising native chicken in a greater number and using the backyard scale of technology po, maawa po kayo. Ang kainatnan po niyan, bankruptcy. Now, to give you the totality no, of the technology that we developed dito, at least you have the idea. And I know that isa sa mga reason why that the native chicken industry could not full blast by itself, it is because of the limited information. Yung kung bakit na kami po dito sa CPU naka-specialize kami, no, pasensya na po sa mga nag-alaga po ng pari native chicken, but we are specializing talaga on Philippine native chicken. But it is what they call a scientific, with a scientific basis po. Experience and science po. Yung kung bakit ko nakikita po nyo as we go along on the process po, every time na may update po kami dito, nakapost yan sa page natin. Now, tingnan po namin ang data. Consumers. Ano ba ang kailangan ng consumers natin? If we are raising native chicken na intended talaga for market, you must to listen to the requirement of your market. But if you are raising native chicken for a hobby, don't worry about your market. But if you are raising it for market purposes, maawa po kayo sa mga pera na tinatapon po ninyo. Bakit? Even though that you will be producing this kind of chicken, and later on po, ma-realize po ninyo, ilan na marami-rami na yan pupunta dito sa amin, later on sabi, Dok, pinatigil ko na. O bakit? Parang hindi ako yata nakakita, hindi ako naka-income dito, ibang kumikita dito. That is why that if you'll be raising chicken po, maawa po kayo, and if that is intended for market po, tingnan po ninyo. Ano bang hinaing ng ating mga consumer o the niche market that we have? Una-una, bes, na our consumers is buying native chicken. It is because of the distinctive taste. Anong ibig sabihin po ng distinctive taste? It is associated with the pre-amino acid present in the meat of the chicken. Present in that meat of chicken, and that is associated on the body weight and even for the meat on the breasts. Parang ganon yan. Alam nyo kasi, dugtong-dugtong kasi yan. You can only attain the distinctive taste if you will be raising native chicken na kung saan po libre yan sa synthetic chemical. Yung kung bakit ako makikita po nyo, we keep on posting the information of the raisers and the feedback coming from their buyers po on the page that we have para po makikita po ninyo. Distinctive taste could not be attained if you keep on feeding your chicken with feeds and antibiotics po sa katawan niyan. Bakit po ang residue niyan nandoon pa rin sa katawan niyan? How can you attain the distinctive taste if yung pinapatuka nyo lang, iilang klase lang, based on the study that we have, the chicken and the range, on a range condition po, they could consume 10 to 15 different species of plants and insects nandoon sa range. Yan kung bakit the possesses what they call the distinctive taste. That is why when we develop the CPU feeds, all of this is anchored on that one. Alam nyo kasi, the consumer is buying for it because of the taste. Because of the taste. Alam nyo, if you're going to raise your chicken on the range, na, at saka maganda yung panlasa nyo, try to compare it. Anong lasa ng manok nyo during dry season and anong lasa ng manok nyo during dry season? Would you think you can attain what they call consistency in the taste? Tingnan nyo po. At least kayo nang bahala dyan sumagot sa tanong na yan. Tingnan nyo yung manok po. Katayin yung manok, same na po tayo po between the chicken pound and the lowland areas compared than the highland areas po. Kayo na bahala mag-judge yan. Tandaan nyo, the distinctive taste of the chicken it is greatly associated on the production technology that you will be adopting. Tandaan po natin, if you raise native chicken, na ang tingin po nyo, kailangan natin that in just a matter of 2 months po, in a matter of 45 days po, mabinta na ninyo, kung ako sa inyo, mag-alaga na kayo ng broiler. Hindi native chicken. The native chicken had started doing that na kung saan po pinababa namin producing what they call the prior chicken. Ang ibig sabihin ng prior chicken is those chicken weighing 500 grams. Ano nangyari? Pilisa. Kaya lang yung karne niya basag-basag. Hindi ganun kaganda po. To the point that the acceptance of the market is not like that one. Yung kung bakit naalala ko kasi yung comment, no, every time na mag-comment po kayo sa my page po, basta negative po, I always consider it. Never mind the positive. Positive will always be there. And if we want to change or to make what they call improvement in our activity, always consider po yung negative na side. Yung kung bakit na alam ko na bato-bato sa langit, hindi naman to kasi ibig sabihin na may pinapatamaan ako. But thank you for those who commented. Na nalagay mo naman post mo, hindi naman sinasagot. Yung kung bakit that we are doing it right now na every time na may mga tanong po kayo, pag hindi po kami masyado, pag hindi kasi, dalawa kasi kami ni Ma'am Dana ang sumasagot dyan. But sa ngayon po, ako may mismong sumasagot dyan and I'm asking for some follow-up questions para po at least I can give you kung ano mabuti nyo pong gawin. So those are what they call the aspect that we have. If you'll be raising chicken, native chicken, for the purpose, for the market, maawa po kayo, tingnan nyo ang requirement ng market. They are not looking after of the size. The introduction of the colored broiler started even as early as 1960s. Different strains were introduced in the Philippines. Ano nangyari? Tingnan nyo hanggang ngayon po. Ano nag-proliferate? Parang ganon yan. So, hoping that this information po, tandaan po natin, we have the market, we supply the requirement of the market. But at the same time, dito po sa CPU, na mahirap naman kasi sabihin natin na we keep on developing this technology only for the consumers, but we are not looking on the side of the producers. Yung kung bakit that the technology that we have dito po, sumasagot na sa part ng consumers at sumasagot pa doon sa part ng producers. If you want a tender, juicy, and distinctive chicken, pag-alain nyo, tikman yung karne. Habang lumalawak yung galaan ng manok nyo, tumitigas yung karne. Pag tumitigas yung karne po, ang pagka-juicy niyan hindi na ganon. And we're speaking about native chicken. Philippine native chicken. Parang ganon yan. Ang isa pa sa nakita ng problema ng racer is that ay naku, ang tagal. Aabot ka ng mga 4, 5 hanggang 6 na buwan bago mo may benta. Eh di mas maganda pa yung 4 hanggang 6 na buwan because there are some regions in this country na kahit isang taon na po, yung bigat ng kanyang inahin is less than 1 kilo. Parang ganon yan. And that is why that at CPU ko makikita po nyo, we are also answering also the standard of the organic production na kung saan po access in natural light, perform the natural behavior. That is why that we have standardized already the design of the housing. Hanapin nyo kung saan kayo makahanap ng standardized design ng housing para sa native chicken nyo. Hindi nyo makita yan. It is because that it would take research a number of decades of doing it. Now, if that 4 to 6 months po, pili bang pababain natin in terms of 3 months? Based on the data that we have po, kung makikita po nyo on the guide that we have, na ginawa ko na mas clearer yan. Tingnan nyo, from the time it was hatched hanggang umabot sa 3 months, tingnan nyo kung magkano, ilang kilogram ang konsumo, ilang kilogram ang gain in weight. Pag lumagpas na po kayo in 90 days po, halos, lugi na po kayo. But the question right now is that how can I produce a chicken weighing 850 to 900 grams in 3 months? Yung kung bakit nasabi namin palagi, as I've discussed earlier in the previous streamings that I have, even since 2014 po, when this page was established po, pwede bang combine natin a smaller genetic group with a larger genetic group? But all of them are Philippine native chicken. Otherwise kasi pag isama nyo kasi puro yan larger genetic group, ay nako. Kung si Darwin pa ang sabi niya, those are what they call barbarous chicken, having what they call barbarous face, long neck and long leg, situated in 9 different regions or island in the country. Alam niyo, Darwin visited Philippines as early as 1896 po. Parang ganon yan. And those are what they call the story behind it. If you want to raise it, na kung saan po aabot yan in 3 months time, pwede bang process between? But don't disturb. Let the chicken to evolve naturally in the environment from where your breeder stocks came from. Bakit po? The evolution of chicken in that natural habitat that they have based on the climatic condition po, it will further enhance the genetic component po. Ibig sabihin po, mas mabilis silang makadapt in that area. And where you can find them? It is in the rural areas. Alam niyo, mahal mag-maintain ng breeding station. To the point that sometimes in breeding, aakyat niyan, pag hindi kayo mabantay doon in the operation, it could affect your productivity po. Yung kung bakit that the raiser wanted it to raise in that number of months. That is why at Central Philippine University, we try to shorten that in 3 months. Kung makikita nyo, marami kasi sa mga followers natin, sabi, ano ba yung sinabi ni Doc noong sabi niya 3 months hanggang umakyat? If you could still remember na yung mga parabang butterfly chicken, that is what I call the prior chicken that we have. Nakaabot hanggang 50 days lang, pwede mo na ma-fry. Parang ganon yan. But again, the concept of it, nakikita namin that the 90 days na yan, possibly you can reduce it in 75 days na kung saan po ang conformation ng karne po is maganda. Now, resistance to diseases. Alam nyo ang manok po ninyo, if you keep on crossing it with the colored broilers, ang ginagawa po nyo, that is a form of what they call genetic erosions. Genetic erosions. If you keep on infusing that one, para gusto nyo na lumaki manok, kaya nga palagi sabi ko, if you want really the chicken to grow faster, maawa po kayo, alagaan nyo na ng broiler para hindi kayo malugi. But if we keep on crossing it, tandaan po nyo, as early as 1960s, colored broilers were introduced in the Philippines. Where are they now? The mortality of your chicken, it is because of genetic erosions. Infusing other group of chicken that is a highly specialized breed of chicken sa ating mga native chicken. Parang ganon yan. Your practices of raising your chicken on parents' condition. Alam nyo kasi, the climatic condition in the place, sobrang variable po. From the area in the northern tip to the southern part, napaka-variable po ng climatic condition. That is why that, kung magtanong po kayo minsan, sabihin, Doc, pwede bang magpadala ng sisiw dito? Kaya palagi sabi ko is that pwede bang, if there are raisers in that area that keep on raising native chicken, doon na kayo bumili po. Find the native chicken in the rural areas. Kasi ang adaptability in the lugar po, mataas na. And we should also to promote our own local chicken po. Yung kung bakit na Ang naging problema natin in mortality as I've mentioned, basta nasa range yan, sobrang taas ng mortality niyan. As I've mentioned, based on the data that we have, only 40% of it is the survival rate. 60% is associated with the mortality from the day it was hatched to the time it will be marketed. Yung kung bakit na yung presyo po ng manok, production cost ng manok po nyo sobrang mahal, it is because of the mortality of it. And that is not only mortality associated with climatic condition, pag ninakaw niyan, pag giniram niyan, hindi ibalik manok nyo, counted yan, pag kinain ng pusa yan, kinain ng aso, o kaya ahas o daga yan, included yan. Pati yung sakit. Alam nyo kasi, in the racers all throughout dito sa survey po namin, almost 60% of the racers are giving supplemental feeds to their chicken. But because of the limited availability of that feeds na kung saan, na it matches the need of the consumers, yung kung bakit that the option palagi is ganon. And that is why that we shared in this space, the formulation that we have, pro ang tandaan nyo palagi nakalagay kasi dyan, that is intended for your parents' chicken. And that is not meant to give the full nutrient requirement po ng manok ninyo. And that is one way on how we can help ng raisers all throughout the Philippines. Parang ganon yan. Alam nyo kasi, the expenses that you have sa patoka pa lang, if you're going to account it based on the data that we have, mas mababa compare with the broilers o commercial lines. Bakit? Umabot lang hanggang 60% ng production cost nyo sa patoka. Yung kung bakit sabi ko is that, if possible that the production cost associated with the feeds, mapababa pa natin, why not? Why not? If we can produce our own feeds right in the farm that we have, saan pupunta ang profit? In the feed millers? Hindi. Diyan sa inyo po. Diyan sa inyo. And beside, because you are producing your own feeds, ibig sabihin po, alam nyo ang quality ng karne ng manok nyo. Parang ganon yan. Kaya nga palagi sabihin na, Dok, pwede bang mag-ship ng CPU feeds dito sa may bandang Northern Luzon? Maawa po kayo. Mas mahal ang kainatnan yan. That is why that we promote what they call the use of what they call the medicated feeds, no? Para at least makatulong dyan sa inyo. We could not ship bulky feeds. Mahirap kasi. And beside, yung aming station kasi, it is more of what they call the researches. That is why that we are spreading the technology right now para po at least mas marami ang maabutan. Kung marami ang maabutan po, marami ang matulungan. Even in the medication that we develop dito po sa CPU po, those are what they call the plant extracts. Bakit po? Pag yung survival rate ng manok po nyo is mataas and you are the one producing your feeds, anong ibig sabihin? Your income will increase. Your income will increase. Alam nyo kasi sa panaliksik kasi, it depends on the trust of the researcher. Ang sa amin po sa Central Philippine University, lalo na po dito sa College of Agricultural Resources and Environmental Sciences, we want to help the raisers of native chicken to be independent in the market when it comes to your production inputs. Iba. Mas mabigat kasi magdala ng mais pagbinta mo doon sa palengke than making that mais to be part of your ingredients in feeding your chicken and even your pig. Alam nyo kasi mas malasa kasi ng manok na walang antibiotic. Pero ang tanong ngayon, paano yan gawin? Yung kung bakit kung makikita po nyo ang petri dish po, maawa po kayo, petri dish po lang yan. And we'll be sharing more information po sa inyo, practical information or practical technology on how to process your own medication. Bakit? Alam niyo pa nagbinta po kayo ng manok. Kung ang pamilya niyo mismo is satisfied of the product that you are producing, ang ibang tao pa kaya? Consumers are buying the native chicken that we have. It is because of the quality and it is because of the notion na kung saan po ang magsasaka po, ang farmer o raiser, na hindi niyan ilagay sa alanganin ang kalusugan ng pamilya niya. And that is why that many of the consumers of the niche market that we have is looking for the Philippine native chicken. Parang ganon yan. So that is why that dito po sa CPU, as the trust of our university na kung saan po, now technology-wise, I know that time will come that the raisers all throughout the Philippines that would like to adopt the commercial scale of production, now kayo po ang may sabi po sa ginagawa po ninyo. And we are very much willing to share the technology that we have now to the extent na makaya po ninyo i-adapt. I know that the right audience that I have in right now in this live streaming po, iba kasi ang backyard. Keep the backyard, be the backyard. I know that the backyard po, importante yan sa genetic resources na gamitin natin in terms of breeding our own native chicken. But we need also raisers that will raise native chicken in commercial scale. Pili ba ngayon sa mga nakaharap ko ngayon? Alam ko hindi naman ngayon lahat makikita, either on the live stream that we have and the off time na presentation po namin. Pili bang umpisahan nyo na? The Philippine native chicken is sharing all the informations. Yung kung bakit na kung makikita po nyo, when we started the project in Leon, developing various design of housing po, na nakita na namin ang appropriate design for commercial scale of production. Yung kung bakit that we keep on sharing it. Alam nyo, when I can recall the time during in Leon po, we have thousands of visitors every month po. Ang nakikita ko lang doon is that how many of the individuals visited Leon were able to adopt the technology. Ang isa sa nakita ko lang is that the practicality of the material that we'll be using. Kaya nga palagi sagi ko noon in the live streaming that we have, pwede bang if you'll be using locally available materials, pwede bang i-treat nyo muna para at least yung lifespan po or usefulness niya po, haba po. Kasi ang tanong palagi is that the return of investment. Alam nyo kasi if you'll be using what they call locally available materials po, mabilis nyo po ma-recover. Basta tandaan nyo, try to adapt the design that we have at Central Philippine University. Don't worry, nakapatent kasi yan sa amin. You can use it. You can use it. The design. Freely. Para po at least, kung makikita mo, you can make your own innovations. The mortality of native chicken, as long as you are keeping it or growing it on the parents, walang mangyayari at walang mangyayari. It keep us increasing and increasing po yan. Yung kung bakit that we're suggesting some of the techniques on how to reduce the production cost. Feeds, housing, medication, those are the three vital part of raising our native chicken in commercial scale. Using locally available materials, as long as nasa inyo yan, alam nyo, mas mabilis ang recovery. ROI-wise, it can be shortened. Parang ganon yan. Next slide, Dan. So, ganyan. And then, the next slide. So, looking on the marketing po. Marketing. Ganito ang nangyayari. Number of raisers then were encouraged to raise native chicken in commercial scale. Bakit? Because they are only looking on the part of the customers and the household na based on the market price. Pag bumili kayo ng native chicken sa palengke, sobrang mahal. Kaya sabi ng OFW o di kaya ng mga weekend farmers, sabi niya, alaga din tayo. Only to realize later on that we were blocked by this kind of information. Ilang level of middlemen ang nasa gitna po before it reaches the final consumers. Marami po. And every level of that middleman is getting percentage of profit on your chicken. Yung kung bakit na noon, kung makikita po nyo, yung bintahan ng manok po sa mga barangay-barangay, the farm gate price sobrang baba. But when it reaches the market, sobrang mahal naman. Bakit? It is because of the level of middleman along the line. Yung kung bakit sabi ko, minsan itong COVID kasi, in behalf of the negative, if you are going to take a look on the positive kasi, na it introduces the new platform on how to market your product. And that is why that I am sharing this information po sa inyo. It does not mean talaga na sabihin natin, I'm going to raise by the thousands. Tandaan po ninyo, as long as you have the direct link between you as the raisers and the consumers po, ibig sabihin po, your product will become more affordable on the part of consumers, but you tend to increase the profit that you have. Bakit? Yung profit on the different level of middleman po, na mabawasan na yan, papunta na po yan sa inyo. Parang gano'n yan. That is why that if you're planning to put up your project, pwede bang pag-isip-isipan nyo muna? Based on the data that I have, if you are situated in that in that region, in that per capita consumption, please consider it. The household income and the allotment in terms of the meat requirement po, tingnan po ninyo yan. Use the recent platform in marketing your product. Next slide, please. Those are what they call the information that we call out because of the limited time also. Alam nyo kasi pag sobrang tagal din kasi, masakit si bunganga. Thank you. Hindi ko naman lahat po mag-greet po dito on joining us in the program. Tandaan natin po, there are always a prospects in the market. If you can have it be dressed on your own and sell it directly to your client or consumers po, ang profit level po nyo per head, sobrang taas. But making the product more affordable on the part of consumers. Processing your product into a ready-to-eat delicacy po, further increases your profit. Kung ikaw ang raiser, ikaw ang nag-dress, at saka ikaw ang nag-process, using the platform in right now, on a marketing platform, kung makaya nga ng iba mag-deliver, ikaw pa kaya. Kaya nga sabi ko that if your area is situated in the area where this middle class and the upper class is located, in the urban barangay, receiving this allotment in terms of the food consumption, tingnan nyo na. At mag-isip-isip na po kayo. If you're the one to process it, and you are producing it, based on the requirement of the market, sa tingin nyo kaya hindi maging sustainable? Tandaan nyo, pag niloko nyo yung consumers po ninyo, ang bayar nyo, wala po kayong ginagawa, but making your project to have what they call a shorter life. Yung kung bakit that tonight, hope that information po na nilagay po namin can be of help po sa inyong lahat, and then you can download the information sa ating page para po naman ang link po on that survey form. Sana po masagot po yun ng konti yung survey form para po naman sa next natin na mga live streaming po, we can use this information. Never mind about the positive side. We would like to know about the negative side para po at least makatulong po sa atin dito on how to further enhance. Sa mga naglagay po ng other information that you wanted po, grupo ko na yung mga informasyon na yan para sa masusunod nating mga live streaming po, I can discuss it. But for tonight po, it is only limited on this one, and hoping that the tonight information po makatulong po sa inyo dyan sa ating mga ka-native. Thank you for the support. Even though that medyo natagalan po tayo na hindi naka-live stream, but again, the Philippine Native Chicken dito po sa Central Philippine University, together with our President, Dr. Chirosoro Bless, we are doing our best that we can give you the best information na makatulong po sa ating mga native. Even though of the challenges that we experience, but it further enlighten us for the development of what they call the practical technologies. And more of these technologies will be coming in. Yung kung bakit na sa mga hindi pa po nakapag-follow ng page natin, please follow our page. And if you think the information is valuable po, please have it be shared sa iba po. Again, for the link. There's no need na email po namin sa inyo. Now, we'll be posting it on a limited time. Now, siguro hanggang po next week po maging available until Monday po yung information. Now, and that information can be accessed, that link can be accessed in the survey form. Nandoon yan sa pinakadulo po. Pakisagot muna ng matanong, konti lang naman yan, no, for us to further improve, no, the delivery of this live stream program. And even for the webinar, I know that number or numerous na marami nating maka-native is asking for the webinar, but kindly give us the information that we are needing para po na once na maka-establish po tayo ng webinar, para at least kahit na malayo po kayo, we can have it be delivered na para bang katabi mo lang ang Philippine Native Chicken as you implement your project. Again, no, magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Thank you, and I could not mention you all, but thank you for the overwhelming support to the Philippine Native Chicken. Now, God bless and keep safe. May bagyong darating, at saka yung cases of COVID po umakyat. And sa ating mga OFW dyan, sa labas ng bansa, keep safe always. And if possible po, when you return to the Philippines and you are planning to do the for good, na please before you invest your money in agriculture, please enrich muna yung mga kaalaman nyo, parte po sa pag-alaga ng manok o whatever agricultural enterprise that you would like. Again, we'll be posting naman kung kailan naman yung live stream program natin na on that second part of the information na i-series po natin para at least mas marami po ang matutunan po ninyo dito sa Philippine Native Chicken. Again, in behalf of my sparring partner, technical po natin, kay Ma'am Dana Marie Istoy Gabasa, this is your host, Dr. Jaime C. Camarles Jr., na mabati po sa lahat na magandang araw, magandang gabi, and thank you from here dito po sa atin sa Philippine Native Chicken. Magandang gabi at magandang araw po sa inyo, mga ka-native.